answer the crocodile, Dundee! Mama Duck!
G'day, Sligo.
Hey.
Did you appreciate the way I said Sligo there?
Sligo, you're right.
Sligo, yeah. So I'm taking it you can all understand my accents because you've all been watching Home and Away for about 40 fucking years by now. So people ask me how I got to Ireland.
How'd you get to Ireland?
How'd you get to Ireland?
Thank you for asking, Sligo. I'll tell you how I got to Ireland. I married an Irishman for my sins, yep.
Hey.
But now he's my ex-husband and neither of us can get the shift.
Boo!
No. So what was the point? So in Australia, we don't call it shifting or getting the shift. We call it pashing. We get a pash. He's a good pasher. It's short for passionate kissing. Or we can just have a wee snog. But the first time I heard a man say, "Oi, shifted her," I thought, where to? I assumed it helped him move house, but like there's a few cultural differences. Like when in Australia, when you're in business, phone protocol is very different to how it is in Ireland. In Australia, if you're in a business, you would answer the phone like this: "Jones's Kitchen, how may I help you?" However, when I first moved to Mayo, and I love Mayo, I was unaware that no one in Ireland identifies themselves because you could be the revenue. So I bought a cottage that needed to be renovated, and every time I rang anyone, and now while I prided myself on being able to distinguish Irish accents back in Australia, because I worked in a strip club, so I saw many Irish backpackers and the fellow colleagues of mine, girls who would also dance while challenged in the clothes department, would say, "I don't understand what he's saying, what did he just say?" I'm like, "Sure, he's from Cork." And they go, "You're not Cork." I'm like, "Is it not capital by?" And then they'd be very happy with me. But when I got to the west of Ireland, Mayo, the accents were so thick, I was just like, I took my car to the garage and it was just like, "Alternator 250. I was like, "Pardon? Alternator 250. Which I took to mean that a new alternator would cost me €250. But when I first got there, I needed my cottage renovated. I'd ring tradesmen and they'd go, "Hello." I'm like, "I'm dreadfully sorry, I must have misdialed. I was trying to reach Jones's Kitchens." "Yes, this is Jones's Kitchens." I'm like, "Oh, fabulous, because I need a kitchen manager." "We don't do kitchens anymore." I'm like, "Okay, well, thank you. We do have a fitter though. His name's Mario. I'll give you his number." I'm like, "Okay." That was 8 years ago. I'm yet to hear from Mario. And he hasn't rung back. Thankfully, I did find someone else to do my kitchen. Now, part of my error was I did not immediately identify myself as Australian to everyone in business, and unfortunately I do sound a bit like a tan. And so it means I get charged 3 times as much. I call it the tan tax. But yeah, so there was a few cultural differences, but but when I was in Perth, in the sex shop where I worked, it started off as a bit of crack really. What happened was, I was out to dinner in Northbridge, which is the entertainment precinct of Perth City. And I was at a lovely restaurant with a couple of my sons, and I had just enrolled in my postgrad. And I was doing okay, but I thought, I'm not going to be able to afford to eat at nice restaurants in this year of postgrad. Perhaps I ought to get myself a little part-time job on the side and sustain the lifestyle to which I hope to become accustomed. And we were walking down James Street in Northbridge, and there's a sign on the sex shop that said, "Help wanted, inquire within." And it also said, "Live girls, live girls, live girls." And my 17-year-old son, who had just enrolled in uni, said, "You can't go in there." I'm like, "That's not going to be real live girls. It's just going to be like a little, what the butler saw. The things around fun fair, you drop a coin, it's just a movie." Yeah. I said, "I'm just going to go in and ask. It'll be hilarious. Imagine I'll be selling dildos instead of selling, like, if I was in a shoe store, I'd sell shoes. Sex shop, you used to be selling dildos. It'd be hilarious." And I went in there and I got the job. And one of my colleagues immediately said, upon me being employed, said, welcome to the sex industry. I'm like, no, I'm not in the sex industry. I'm in retail. And he said, just you wait. And he was right, because it was only a couple of months before I was behind the glass in the peep show. Because you earn $10 on the counter in the sex shop. But attached to the sex shop was a bank of internet porn booths. And behind the internet porn booths was a peep show. Hands up if you've been in a peep show. Oh, you're just not game to admit it. All right, so the way a peep show works.
I was.
You were? Was it Amsterdam?
No, it was Portugal.
Portugal. So it was very hardcore?
It was very, yeah.
It was very hardcore. So a peep show in Perth is quite tame compared to international peep shows, because there are rules about frontal nudity and stuff, mainly relating, it's quite unequal, because there's no full frontal nudity allowed from a man, and they're particularly not allowed to be. I asked the policeman in the sex shop, because they were always coming in because people were shoplifting, and I said, can you tell me exactly the rules on frontal male nudity, because I was in charge of the peep show roster? And he said, they're not allowed to be naked and erect more than 45 degrees in public. So if you ever see a cop coming at you with a protractor, be prepared for a pink slip. So the way a peep show works is you go into a little booth, you lock the door behind you, and there's a window in front of you, a glass window. Now, in one establishment where I worked, it was a little curtain, which would, like, mechanically operated. You drop your $2 coin in, and the little curtain goes mechanically and opens it, and then a girl will come out on the stage and she'll take off her top, and then at the end of the 50 seconds that the $2 coin affords you, the curtain will start going, come back again, and the guy will go, oh my goodness, and I'll put another $2 coin, if he wants to see more, I'll put another $2 coin in. In the peep show attached to the sex shop, it didn't have a curtain, it was just suddenly like frosted out, so you'd have to then start again. So it'd be like $2 coin, there'd be a girl taking off a top, it would suddenly frost out, and go, oh my god, but I want to see more, he'd put in another $2 coin, it would open again, she'd take off the top, and then she'd take off her bottoms as well. If he keeps putting the coins in, it becomes more and more explicit. If you really, really like the girl on stage, you can go to the counter and say, I like that girl, can I have a private dance with her? And then she'll come off the stage and she'll go into a room with the guy and give a private dance. It's meant to be non-contact. I'm sure there were other things negotiated back there. In my day, being in a private dance just meant you were locked in a room with a man, a CD player, and a panic button that you hoped you got to before he did. But, an unpopular opinion, but hashtag not all men, I'm living proof that you can be naked and alone with lots of men and nothing will happen to you if you're lucky. I've had friends who weren't so lucky, but let's not talk about that, because hashtag not all men, let's look on the bright side of life. So I was in the peep show because when you work on the counter for $10 an hour, you have to do all the mopping. Yeah, and there's all kinds of bodily fluids that wash around the peep show because there's a lack of public toilets in that street for a start. Now, if you're an Irish fella and you go out for a few bevies in Ireland and you fancy a pee, well, you just nip down an alleyway and relieve yourselves. No harm, no foul. If you do that in Northbridge and you nip down a laneway and you're drunk and you're having a slash, a policeman will bother to follow you down there and hand you a pink slip for indecent exposure and public urination, and then you'll have to front up to the courts and pay a fine. So they developed a workaround because they had found out that there was a place with lots of little booths that just didn't have any indoor plumbing in it, and that muggins would have to do the mopping. So one night about 3 o'clock in the morning, because it became sort of a tradition, a kind of bit of a crack, people would go out and they wanted to go to the nightclubs after their dinner, but they'd come in on Friday, Saturday night and go to the peep show first, see the peep show, and then they'd go out. It became a bit of fun. But they needed a slash, said wee.
Oh.
So one night at 3 o'clock in the morning, every peep show booth was awash with wee and other bodily fluids. We did provide tissues,
Oh wow.
but that's about it. And the stripper was going home with dry feet and lots of cash on her, so much so we had to put it down her boots so she wouldn't get mugged on the way to the bus stop. And I still had lots of mopping to do and was going to walk down dark alleys to lock up and things. And I thought, I'm going to go on the other side of the glass. So I did. And so I learned the tricks of the trade behind the glass. But the thing I learned most behind the glass was body confidence because of the Irish boys. Because in Australia, I suffered for decades with a bit of fat shaming because I'm not, in those days, a bikini body. However, the first time I took an Irish boy to breakfast, we were standing outside the restaurant and we were looking at the sandwich board of the menu. And he said, "What are you going to have?" He was from Martine. "What are you going to have?" I said, "I think I'll have the muesli." He goes, "Muesli? Fucking muesli? Why would anyone have fucking muesli?" I'm like, "Because I have to take my clothes off on stage and I'm the size of a heifer." And he stepped back and he gave me the tilt look. And I thought he was going to concede my point, as most Australian men would. And instead he said, "Fuck the muesli, have the fucking sausages." Which is why I love Irish boys. Thank you, Sligo. You've been fantastic.